You think about it, if you are Keir Starmer, Sir Keir Starmer, the current British Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and of course, some might say on the world stage, you would of course wanted to do your very best to make sure that you could cement this particular relationship. Well, seemingly things seem to have engulfed Sir Keir, otherwise known as two-tier Keir and freebie Keir. That's all because his start into the government, as we would say, has been nothing but catastrophic, one disaster after another. And as I told you recently, the likes of Tulip Sadiq, who may or may not have been fired at the time of this recording, and also the shambles of Angela Rayner, the Taylor Swift freebies, the winter fuel allowance, Rachel Reeves's budget, it's just one disaster after another. So what's really important is, of course, to secure certain friendships. But now, apparently, that's not very clear, Keir, is it? Very good to see you. Thank you so much for your time today. As ever, it's lovely to see you. But, it is true, though, isn't it? If you're in a political arena, you have to make sure you secure those wonderful friendships. You see, what I always admired about great leaders, particularly people like the late and brilliant Margaret Thatcher, Winston Churchill, even Harold Wilson to a degree, they knew how to connect with the people, to make sure. Let's not forget, Harold Wilson was very shrewd in getting next to the Beatles at the height of Beatlemania, ensuring, of course, that kids knew who he was, even though he was seen as a fuddy-duddy in a rain mac, if you remember. But moving forward now, we have a huge problem. This is because our current British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, clearly has offended the incoming president, the 47th president of the United States, that is Donald J. Trump. And some people might say, does it matter? Oh, it does. It's our special relationship. We look towards America for support, guidance and help. Now, where it gets really interesting is, as you know, recently, the Labour Party, just ahead of that particular election, which Mr. Trump won, sent over 100 MPs to try and distract away from that, even offering free accommodation, flights and money. Yes. But worse than that, as we then found out, we have our current British Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, with a series of tweets blasting Mr. Trump. And if that wasn't bad enough, we then have the Deputy British Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, saying, basically he's a loony.
And Donald Trump is killing, thousands of Americans by giving them duff advice, and his macho, I'm all right, look at me, I've survived COVID, is an absolute buffoon. He has no place in the White House, he's an embarrassment, and he should be ashamed of himself.
And so now we're having to say, oh, please come and do some business with us. Now, the inauguration is days away, and I've been told that Downing Street have had no firm confirmation yet. Now, this is where it's interesting, because all other world leaders seemingly have received that. Now, Mr. Trump could be playing a bit of a fun game, and who could blame him after what had happened and the way he's been treated? But moving forward, if Sir Keir Starmer is not at the inauguration, then truly we have a lot of problems. And I would suffice and say that it doesn't matter those people, unless you remove the ones that have been so incredibly rude, then there's no chance of a reconciliation. If he does go to the inauguration and does get an invite, I would suspect it would be very much a frosty meeting. And he's doing that simply through duty and the fact that Mr. Trump and his administration duly true admire the British way of life. We know that for a fact. But what a situation that this government have now left us in. Incredible to think, isn't it? Neil Sean in the very heart of London.